There's another industry presentation, and it is by Mr. Sunil Gupta, co-founder and CEO, Yotta Infrastructure. Huge round of applause. I think it's one of the most amazing presentations you will be seeing today. A huge round of applause for Mr. Sunil.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Good afternoon. My name is Sunil Gupta, and I am co-founder and CEO of a very young company called Yotta. Just to give you an introduction before I come to my presentation, we are a managed data center, cloud and IT services company. Essentially, we are actually owned and promoted by the Hiranandani group of Mumbai. I think you must be knowing them. They are into big urban townships and all. And because of the size and scale in which the whole this digitization around us is growing in the last couple of years, whether in our personal life or professional life, or for that matter in the government life now, it was very, very important that while digitization is coming in our lives, the underlying infrastructure which support digitization also keeps pace. I saw while the data center industry is there since late 90s, and I have been working in the industry since that time, and we used to build very small data centers at that time because the workloads were simply smaller and non-complex. But from that time to time of 2012-13, when the e-commerce wave came and 4G came, which enabled a whole lot of new applications and data centers started getting filled, to the coming on of Amazon, Azure, Google and all type of cloud operators, they putting up their shops in India because they knew that if they want to really host the bigger data, they want to serve people, especially government, they will have to set up their nodes in India. So that was the development of around 2013-14. And after that, of course, we have seen the wave of where the Internet of Things is taking over the Internet of People. And the session before this, I think it amply made clear how the Internet actually is being taken over more by devices than by people, and which is obviously generating a huge amount of data which we cannot handle. If we had to handle that amount of data, analyzing, processing, storing, again giving it back, again storing, again analyzing, the underlying physical cloud and data center infrastructure has to scale up really, really big time in India, in major cities and also around on the nooks and corners of the country. That was the background where Hiranandanis came into this, and we thought that if people like me and my team, who are practically practitioners of data centers for the last many years, who understand possibly IT and digitization side, and people like Hiranandanis who understand land, construction of buildings, power, approvals, basically everything to do with infrastructure, if we can combine these strengths together under a single roof, we can create the size of infrastructure which India needs at a very, very fast pace. That is the journey we started around 2019 starting, and in the last 3 years, I feel we have done something which we are reasonably proud of. We have constructed 2 very large data center campuses, one in Mumbai and one in Delhi, and as we speak, we are right now constructing almost 5 new campuses at the same time, besides obviously creating 1 data center for NIC in Guwahati right next door. Well, as I said that I have been seeing what we are calling digital transformation today used to be called computerization and IT adoption, maybe in early 90s. Government used to push that you should, instead of working on paper, you should have computers. From that time to adoption of internet and adoption of having websites and portals to enable certain citizen-facing centric services, to today, the whole talk has shifted to e-governance, smart governance around technologies which are very, very different than pure computerization. Last panel discussion literally opened my own personal eyes. I have seen lots of examples of digital transformation in private sector. A lot of our customers who are hosting with me in my cloud or data center, they are doing so many of unique things around all these technologies. But the adoption of the same IoT, AI, ML in use cases where you are talking about millions of people, which I think our leaders in the previous panel discussion were talking about, whether it is a crop survey or whether it is about land records or whether it's about school administration. Each use case is so big, it is just creating humongous amount of data, and I presume what they have implemented are just tips of the iceberg. They are still POCs, which they are doing on a limited set of population. When they increase it to the entire population, we can just imagine what type of digitization it will mean for India and what type of infrastructure it will demand. Just to give some idea, these are the numbers which I'm sure all of you in government must be aware of, but I just tried to pen down certain changes which have happened from yesterday to today. On passports, I think we all are aware, from long physical passport application process, it was weeks and months. Today, we are talking about having our passport delivered at our home within few days, and going to a passport office is a pleasure experience. From complex documentation and availing of government schemes, today we have an example which is actually because of the combination of Aadhaar, the micro accounts in banks, and a direct benefit transfer because of that, which obviously was backed by the mobile and internet technology. You can just imagine, I can't even read this number, this much of money today, just taking out all the middlemen in between, so much of money has been transferred directly. In UPI, if you are not aware, the number of UPI transactions in India are more than double than the second country in the world, and the second country happens to be China. They are less than half of us in terms of the number of transactions which people are doing digitally to make payments, and the very distant third actually is US. So in India, while the whole of the world still talks about Visa and MasterCard, in India, Visa and MasterCard now are 6th or 7th in terms of our way in which we make our payments. So that is the type of, again, we can just imagine that our rickshaw wala and vegetable wala also says, "Ke sir, GPay kar do ya Paytm kar do, mere ko cash nahi chahiye." That is the type of digital adoption we have done. Of course, from safekeeping of physical government documents in our homes and in our bank lockers, we are now talking about almost 136 million users accessing 5.6 billion documents in their DigiLockers. These are all the trends we can see, and these trends, whether we call these trends are enabled by this underlying technology or business drivers, or these drivers are getting influenced by the other trends, but you can again see where as India we have reached, as a proud country where we have reached. By 2025, from around 75 crore internet users, we will become 90 crore active internet users, which means almost 70% or more of our population will be actually connected to internet. And by the way, almost 60 crore out of that even today are using smartphones. Simply because a smartphone, a very good working smartphone is available at 3,000 or 4,000 rupees today in our hands. With a monthly subscription of less than 300, 400 rupees, we can get a smartphone, and we can use all those benefits which smart e-governance and smart organization has to give to the users. E-commerce market, 5G connections. One thing is good about we Indians that technology हाथ में मिल जाए, अच्छे हाथ rates पे मिल जाए, कोई भी technology मिलती है हम लोग adopt कर लेते हैं. That is good about we as Indians, right? And we have seen that on many technologies. I'm sure same thing is going to happen for 5G as well. The projection is within next 4-5 years we will cross 50 crore in 5G adoption as well. OTT subscribers, thanks to COVID, which preponed the digital adoption even to our moms and pops who otherwise would not have touched a mobile screen. We have seen that the OTT subscribers in India almost have reached 5 crore homes. And you can see the same trends happening on enterprises. I think we saw many of the speakers in previous session talked about adopting AWS Azure. I remember in late 90s, even to put your data outside of your office and physically co-locating into a third-party data used to be a no-no even for a private enterprise. Today we are talking about so nicely that government officials are talking about putting critical data in data centers, in cloud, in public cloud like Amazon and Azure, and that shows the majority of the digital landscape which it has evolved in the last couple of years. Now, why I was sharing all this data? Again, I'm coming to my basic premise. When we talk about the physical economy of a country, and the current government at the center obviously keeps on talking about it. If you want to grow your physical economy and you want to make a $5 trillion, the fundamental thing required is infrastructure. You need roads, you need railways, you need airports, you need malls, you need schools, you need hospitals, you need everything. And on the top of that, economy will grow by default. Even for digital economy, while digital economy may be everything virtual, it may be running in something called cloud, but those clouds also need to have a physical infrastructure below them. And their physical infrastructure is essentially data centers. If we see the projections for how India needs it to sustain the type of digital which is there in our lives, and if we pick only 4 or 5 big use cases, simply because of the consumer adoption of 5G and the amount of data it generates, the IoT and AI ML type of use cases coming in our lives, we will have almost 500 megawatt equivalent of data center capacity required in India. Data centers, by the way, nowadays are not spoken in the language of square feet and racks. Data center is all about how much power you are consuming. So we as an industry measure data centers in megawatt. So again, for your information, till about 2014, the whole of country across some 200 plus data centers, state data centers and private sector data centers put together, was whole of the country was about 200 megawatt. In the last 4 or 5 years, thanks to all the trends which I was just explaining, including the oncoming of cloud operators in India, this 200 megawatt has already crossed 600 megawatt. Essentially, what we did not build in 15-20 years before 2013-14, as an industry, we already has tripled that from 200 megawatt to 600 megawatt. So that is the size of the Indian data center industry. But these trends, 5G, IoT, AI, cloud adoption more and more, data protection, obviously we all are waiting for the second version, the revised version of the data protection bill to get passed in the parliament. But what essentially that will do, besides bringing many other benefits of protecting our personal data, it will actually force many of the social media companies. That is one data which we don't have in India. While most of our enterprise and other data may be in India, but the social media data which all of us use, our WhatsApp and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and everything, is actually not hosted in India. So the moment that is passed, chances are most majority of that data will have to be localized onshore within India, and that will create another very big wave of data center capacity in India. And of course, all the examples of smart cities, which even the panel before this was speaking about, all these things will add up to a minimum requirement of 2,500 megawatt of data center capacity in India. So as I said, we were just 200 megawatt. We already have become 600 megawatt in the last 4-5 years. And as a country, as a minimum, we need to go almost 4 times much more compared to where we are. And just to show you one more interesting slide from this perspective, this shows the comparative of different countries or regions in the world in terms of their data center capacity compared to their population. So this shows the ratio of the megawatt of data center divided by the population of that country in millions. So in India, this is a little dated slide. This shows around, let's say, our 250 megawatt of data center capacity in 2015 divided by 140 crore of population. So it shows about 0.2 as India's parameter. But if you see, China and Hong Kong is 0.5, 2.5 times than India. Southeast Asia, 3 times bigger. Japan, 5 times bigger. Europe, 17 times bigger. Australia, New Zealand are 25 times bigger, 22 times bigger, and US 40 times bigger. So if we all believe that Indian population, Indian citizens are as digitally enabled, which we are, as a US citizen is, there is no reason to not believe that India also need to have as much capacity. This ratio of India also need to go near the ratio of where the US is, and that also in other ways shows how much of infrastructure as a country we have to build in terms of data centers. This gives a little bit of introduction about what we are doing. As I was saying in the starting, this was the whole background because of which we started Yotta. just give me 5 minutes. We are building data centers across multiple cities across country. We have right now have got data center park in Mumbai, which is live. We launched our very large data center park in Greater Noida just about 1 year back. And just to give you an idea, these data center parks are extremely large parks. Each park can have 6 data center buildings, and one building itself can be 5,000 racks to 7,000 racks with 30 megawatts of power. These are extremely large capacities. We are building all of them on our own because the entire capacity and capability are in-house. Besides building these large data centers, which are all under construction beside Mumbai and Delhi, which are live, we are also building edge data centers, smaller footprint data centers in nooks and corners of the country, including Guwahati, because once you have implementations of 5G coupled with IoT coupled with AI/ML, you will have to have the data processing right next to where the sensors are or where the devices are, because the data interaction has to happen in microsecond and not even in millisecond. So you can't wait for the data to go all the way to a data center in Bombay and then come back. And that is why it will be required to have edge data centers in other cities as well. And of course, you can see when you are building data centers and when you want to support digitization across the country, you have to have a completely top quality, which best world-class data centers can give. And that what explains these various certifications from various industry and other points of view. This is something which shows that from a data center, sometimes you may feel building bana diya, power kar diya, cooling kar diya, you bring your IT and just run it, which is like a glorified real estate. Possibly that was good enough for a few years back. Today's customers, including governments, obviously enterprises, startups do require that, but including governments, I've seen they no more are interested in just a plain co-location of in data centers. They just want to have cloud services. I will just bring my applications, I'll only bring my website, I'll only bring my data, I will bring my analytics platform. You give me everything which runs below that, which means the entire layer of IT services, which run. So right from bottom, which is the co-location and DC build, which is actually building the building, but from there to various network services connecting you to the rest of the world, either through P2P or through internet or to private exchanges, to cloud services of public, private, hybrid types, to supporting your applications, and coupled with on the two sides, managing the complete IT 24/7 and giving a complete cyber security to this entire set which is running in data centers. So our vision in Yotta was always that even when I start my data center in Guwahati, the idea is when you come and put your applications here, whichever type of application it is, you are not just taking a physical space and then we leaving the IT part to you. It essentially means that you are just bringing what you do best, your application, your business, and everything below that is actually offered on an as-a-service model in these data centers. This is a picture of, which I think ma'am can just see that. This is a picture of the data center which we are building.
I request you, I'm so sorry.
Just give me 1 minute.
We have already exceeded 15 minutes, sir. The time was 10 minutes. If you could quickly wrap this up.
Sure, thank you. This is a picture of the data center we are building in Guwahati. The picture on the right shows how the building will look like ultimately, and the picture on the left shows the actual work under progress in the building. And we are of course looking forward to building our own one more data center in Guwahati to serve the people in the state, to make Guwahati as a gateway of the East. Thank you very much. This is what I wanted to share. I am here in case.
Such a wonderful presentation. I would like to call on the dais Dr. Suchitra Pyarilalji, who is the DTC and SIO NIC Assam, to please join us on the stage to give away a token of appreciation to Mr. Sunil Gupta, who is the co-founder and CEO of Yotta Infrastructure. A huge round of applause. I'm sure such a wonderful presentation. And Yotta, I think, has his call out there. You can definitely talk to him. He'll be here throughout the day.